Hey, everybody. Technical perfection. Welcome back to CVO Gun Talk, where we don't talk about guns very much. We've come up with this brilliant plan in the last 3 minutes of lessons learned since last time. So, what have you been doing? It's been almost, a month, I think.
It has been right about a month, yeah.
What have you been doing since last time?
I've done quite a bit. Went to help Mike Anderson with landing the plane, which we talked about last time. Took a trip to Ohio, went to an instructor development course. Been working a lot. Had a birthday. Been doing a lot of things.
So, you brought something up. You know how sometimes people ask Rob Pincus, why'd you call it combat-focused shooting? He's like, yeah, I probably should have thought of a different name.
Yeah, he says that.
Yeah. Land the plane. It's hard to describe to people sometimes, like, why is it called land the plane? Where it's more important what the class is about. So, you've been involved with land the plane like 4 times now, haven't you?
No, it's more like about 8 times.
8 times.
Yeah.
Wow, we teach that. We need to do more. What'd you learn this time? First of all, how about this? For the whole 3 viewers that are new to us, what is land the plane?
So land the plane is a course or a class that Michael J. Anderson comes down and teaches. And it's really about, it has some gunplay in it, no live fire. It's all, blue guns and plastic guns. But it's more about what you do prior to a dynamic critical incident or a violent encounter, how to avoid it, how to fence yourself off from people, how to keep your distance. And then if that doesn't work and you actually are involved in some sort of incident, then what to do afterwards. Mm-hmm. So it's the pre-math and the aftermath. I don't even know if pre-math is a word, but...
Absolutely. You just created it.
I just made it.
You and Al Gore invented it.
Yes.
So, speaking of which, because we are master salesmen, I was like looking at this going, when is land the plane on here again? And we don't have it on here. So we're going to change that. We're going to make it happen before Christmas.
It's a really valuable class. I mean, maybe it hasn't been 8 times, but it's been at least 6. And, I learn more every time I go and take notes, little tweaks. And
so basically, for a simple guy like me, what I found most valuable is how can we maybe see the fight coming? And because we talk about awareness is a great thing, but we also realize you're going to get ambushed. That's why we train the way we do, right?
That's right.
But, when we're talking about the people that walk across the parking lot saying, hey, mister, can I have your jumper, or do you have any jumper cables, or can you give me $5 for gas? That's not an ambush, especially when they're like, obviously they've targeted you and they're testing you. Hey, mister, can I talk to you? Hey, lady, whatever. So I find that part very valuable. And absolutely, like you said, for the people that have to, whether it's go hands-on, of course, simulated, poke somebody's eyes out, shoot them, stab them, whatever, that part where you have to talk to the real dispatcher and have the real police show up.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
It's pretty interesting to watch people.
And if you do it enough, if you visualize it enough, and if you think about this stuff, it becomes somewhat natural. A little bit funny story. I was coming back from Ohio on Labor Day, and I stopped at the world's largest truck stop.
It's Walcott, Iowa.
It was. I always. It's like a tradition. I always go in there and look at the little stickers and
go
lizards. To the lot lizards, and go to the coffee shop, use the bathroom. Mm-hmm. But as I'm coming out, this heavy-set Hispanic chick, probably, I don't know, in her 20s or whatever, had braces on. So I noticed all this because she got that close. And she's like, hey, do you know where I can get my oil looked at? And I'm like, hey, hold up. Mm-hmm. So I did that. Just it's reflexive,
sure.
Right? And, totally innocent question, but that's exactly the kind of interaction that he talks about.
Sure. Because sometimes it's just good people looking for help.
And that's she was. I pointed her across the street, but... it was a natural reaction to build that little fence and say, hey, hold up.
After 8 classes,
it worked, right?
Yeah, it's interesting to watch people interact with the officer, explaining to them that, hey, in your head you had to do what you had to do, but if they show up, they're going to handcuff you. They got to make the scene safe. They're going to put you in a car. You're going to probably feel pretty weird when here you had to do something most people have never done in their life. And for a brief moment, you're definitely going to feel like you did something wrong because you're handcuffed in the back of a car.
Well, you're going to be treated like you did something wrong.
Sure.
Because even though they say innocent until proven guilty, we all know that doesn't really work that way right away. Everybody's guilty until they figure out what happened.
Yeah, when they respond to a shooting and you're the person standing there with a gun.
Everybody's guilty.
Yeah, you look like you're going to need some sorting out. Which unscripted. Here we go, flying by the seat of our pants.
Like Pegasus.
I like it. Brings me to the, Andrew Bronca. We got him coming on October 23rd. Sign up by September 23rd. You get the discount.
I'm going to have to get the day off from work to go.
You need to.
I have to.
I make this joke with everybody that, you go find me anywhere else, you can spend 8 hours with a lawyer for $150.
Yeah, you can't.
So, and he's coming to go over Iowa's reasonable force, deadly force, how that's applied to cases in the past, here. So it's going to be awesome. I think you and I do an awesome job of talking about Iowa law in our carry class, but like I tell everybody, to get to hear it from a lawyer and get to say, hey, in this case, this is how that applied, and in this case, this is what the jury looked at and was told to consider. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I recently read his book. Recently, as in the last couple months. I think I finished it about a month ago. But, I mean, the general principles and everything he talks about in his book are just awesome. And then to have him come in and specifically target our state,
sure,
you can't miss that.
Yeah, and I honestly need to learn more for there actually are a lot of people that shop at the store that are lawyers and they're, of course, gun people, because I did find out tonight one of the local lawyers here in town told me, hey, I signed up and I filled out the extra stuff because it counts for, it's either 4 or 5 hours. That's what we have to narrow down. His Andrew's website's kind of doesn't have a good enough description of how that's going to work, but at the very least, it's 4 hours of continuing education for lawyers even. So, when you look at what they have to go do and to keep up on their continuing ed hours, if you're a lawyer that also carries a gun or has anything to do with self-defense, why not go listen to him, get some continuing education hours?
You want to hear a funny story?
Not if it makes me pee myself, but go.
It's not that funny because I'm not that funny of a guy, but this is more of a curious story.
Okay, right? Talk to me.
So I'm getting ready to go to Ohio, and as we recommend, I went to the state website and I printed out all the laws in Illinois, Ohio, and Indiana because I'm going through those states. Mm-hmm. And as I'm going through the 5,000 pages of regulations and laws and what you can do and what you can't do, for about 24 hours, I was like, the gun's not the magic talisman. You don't need it to defend yourself. It's a mindset issue. It is such a pain in the butt to do all this crap. I might just leave my gun at home. Mm-hmm. But then after 24 hours, I was like, you know what? They can't make me not do what I want to do. So I got stubborn and I took it anyway. But, that is a pain in the ass to follow all that stuff. And it's, and you really got to know that stuff.
You drive near Chicago on your way there?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Southern Illinois, through Peoria.
The pretty part of Illinois.
Yeah, the part that's flat.
Yeah, it's got farms and stuff.
It's got farms
like
and
Iowa.
Stuff. Yeah. But, you think about, we talk about it a lot, but, if you don't travel a lot, like I don't anymore, that was a significant emotional event trying to figure out everything I could do and could not do. So
a significant
emotional event. Yes, it was. So having somebody like Andrew Bronca come and tell you, like from the horse's mouth, would be really good.
I won't tell him you called him a horse. All right.
Well, I didn't say horses, I said horse.
But so definitely, everybody remember that. Sign up by September 23rd. You got to go to Andrew Bronca's website to sign up. You're not doing it through my store. We're just hosting him, but you pay him the money. But $150 is well worth sitting around. And then he has an optional, I don't even know the cost. I don't think it's very much, but it's optional to go through a simulator at the end. He's bringing it along with him.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
And so I believe it's a scenario where, whether it's shoot, no shoot, whatever, you go through it, and then you sit down and the class basically judges you. Say, Mike, why'd you do that? And then, again, probably the worst time ever to try to describe why you did what you did 2 minutes after you did it, but for the purpose of the class, it'll be interesting to see how many people try that out. So, back to lessons learned. Tell the whole world and me, where were you last week? How'd that go?
So over the Labor Day weekend, I traveled to the Columbus, Ohio area. I went to a 3-day instructor development course for the Active Shooter Response course that ICE Training Company, and we've talked about ICE Training Company quite a bit because that's who we do combat-focused shooting through, so we do defensive firearm coaching through. Big fans, at least I am, right?
Sure.
So we like their methodology.
We love them all.
We do. They're awesome. Awesome. Awesome's my word tonight. So I went there. It was their first instructor development course for this particular program.
What's the program?
So Active Shooter Response, right? I said that, and it was developed from their school attacker response course. It kind of morphed into more of a general,
So it was
more like for the general populace, I guess.
sure normal workplaces everywhere else.
Yeah, just anywhere. And then, so I went through that as normal, IC instructor development, lots of info. They always give you like a 50-gallon barrel of info, and you're only going to put out like 12 ounces of it. So it was typical. And, by day 2, my head was going to explode. And even though I knew what to expect.
And even though you're Mike.
And even though I'm Mike.
Yeah, it's...
And it was very good. I learned a lot of things. I like their... a lot of different places are teaching this information.
Sure.
Right? You got, was it Laser and Alice and all these other, programs. And so it's not like secret info. But what I liked about their approach is, once again, they thought it through. The context of the course is giving people the tools they need to use on an individual level, so they don't assume that at any time you're going to be anything but on your own.
Yeah.
Like if you and I say, hey, we're going to, go barricade that door, okay, ready, go, and then I'm like, I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Well, you're on your own, right?
Yep.
So you always have to have an individual plan, an individual reaction. So that's the context of the course.
Did they talk about how people usually respond as an individual first?
Right. So, and that's like I said, that's the context.
I went through I saw a class like that this weekend too. We'll talk about.
Did you? Okay. And the other thing, and then their 3 kind of pillars of the course are evade, barricade, and respond. So you talk about all that stuff, and that stuff's not like rocket science or magic.
Sure.
But the other thing they talk about that no other course that I've been to or seen, and I'm an Alice instructor too. I think you are too, right?
No.
No?
I'm just associated with you.
Okay. All right.
I am not an Alice instructor.
All right. So
I swear too much to be an Alice instructor.
I am an Alice certified instructor, but something that that program and other programs don't really do that this one does is they covered the aftermath. We talked about caring for wounded. It's part of the scenarios,
Sure.
immediate casualty care. And we spent half a day of the entire course talking about that.
Yeah.
And then also interacting with police and, interacting with police if you don't have a weapon, interacting with police if you do have a weapon, interacting with the police if you have the bad guy's weapon.
Yeah.
All those scenarios that could happen and what you should do. So those 2 things, the individual response and really concentrating on the aftermath, I think set it apart.
Yeah, because I thought about I knew, having no idea what the program was because you were in the first one, but I knew they would be thorough from the point of view that you and I might take classes to say this is what it's like to deal with the police after being involved with the shooting because we carry a gun. But there are such times, already documented in history, that you learned of, the bad guy gets his gun taken away. So now you have that gun, and maybe you're not a gun person, but you better know how to interact with police while holding the gun.
Right.
So that's awesome that they covered that.
Yeah, and the course is really geared. It's not and I think it's really good too to kind of add to our menu of things, courses we offer, because it's not a quote unquote gun person course. You don't have to know anything about guns. It's not about guns. It's about taking individual responsibility for your own safety. So there's a lot of other things you can do. And I'm really excited, and hopefully we can get that on the table here over the winter. I think it'll be pretty popular.
Something to do when it's cold out in Iowa.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go forth and push that. And, you and I haven't figured out a price yet. Because you have free competitors out there, don't you?
Yeah, and that's true.
You see just today's paper.
I thought that was kind of...
it's good they're doing it.
Conflict interest, but yeah.
I understand. But I see where you're going. But also I tell myself, there's people out there who would say, if you don't do this right, you're going to get people hurt. You know what? We're talking about a situation where people get hurt anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes lots of people. And the whole thing is
absolutely no guarantees anybody's not going to get hurt.
If you can't do the right thing, at least do the wrong thing, but don't do nothing, right?
Yep.
So,
and do it violently.
Yeah, do it very violently. 0 to 100. But, yeah, I saw that about the Lynn County Sheriff's Department. And I think it's awesome they're doing it. I think it's awesome that I think they said, hey, we had 5 people approach us in the last 2 years, and now we've had 5 people in the last month.
Or 5 businesses, right?
Yeah, 5 businesses, yep. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get out there. Shake the
Yeah,
leaves
no,
a
I
little
think
bit.
I think this will add some value to people. I think they'll like it.
I think we should start with TPS Media right here.
Sure.
We should do a class for like 2 guys.
Yeah.
What happens when somebody tries to come in here and take your beer? It's in that little fridge right over there. So, no, we'll go forth and promote that because, as you and I talked about, we're in Iowa. We need some things to do in the winter to keep these people engaged and, keep your training up. When you talk about all the time, and I won't talk about medical class tonight other than when we're having the next one. Like you said, the aftermath of, hey, let alone you survive the initial attack, can you save another life of somebody who's, let alone they might have been shot, stabbed, or whatever by the spree killer, and the different killers, because you learned about different killers, didn't you?
Sure.
Is, hey, maybe you did the right thing, Simon takes his chair, throws it through the window, and escapes. But as you jumped out the window, lacerate your leg. Now might be important for somebody to know how to help that stop bleeding.
As luck would have it, I also learned something medically at this. And their immediate casualty care portion of the class it's fairly basic.
Sure.
Plug the hole, use a tourniquet.
Yep.
But I read a study that they, Rob Pincus gave to me the night before, and they referenced it during the class. So I don't know if everybody got it, but I definitely got it, and I read it.
Probably just you.
Yeah, no, I seriously think he sent it to me,
Yeah.
a couple of days because we were talking about it, and it's the first. It was just published like 2 months ago, and it's actually changed the way I think about treating some of these injuries in that scenario, that context, because what the study said was they did a study of casualties in mass shootings, civilian mass shootings or active shooters. Rather than taking data from overseas where guys are getting blown up and shot and everything. And I had somewhat of an epiphany when I read this thing because they said, look, there's different injuries. And, all the trauma, TCCC, TECC, and all these classes are, kind of focusing on the extremity wounds and bleeding out and tourniquets and pressure darts, which they're very important and you still need those.
Sure.
However, they're not putting emphasis on what they think is the most important thing, and what that is pneumothorax, which if you don't know what pneumothorax is, it's where you have extra holes in your chest cavity and air gets in and it starts crushing your lungs.
Maybe you should have like a chest seal.
Exactly.
I have some of those at the store for you.
Well, they need to. So,
And it really does. You're right.
this study said that most of the preventable deaths were due to pneumothorax and not from bleeding out.
Do you remember what the percentage was?
Now you're putting me on the spot.
No, if you don't, that's fine.
It was. No, I can't remember what it is, but it was significant enough for me to say we need to put more emphasis on chest seals in the class that I teach.
Yep.
And I talk about chest seals, but I'm going to put more emphasis on chest seals.
Don't make me be your dummy to use. So
No.
rip all my hair off. I'll look like that dude in that commercial.
We'll just use duct tape. This is a chest seal. Put
I
duct
like
tape
it.
on. Yeah.
All right.
So, that was a very interesting study. It made me, just one of the little things I got out of this course that I'm going to, is actually going to affect the way I teach other things.
So would it be safe to say maybe the emergency medical class on Thursday, September 22nd, you would teach people how to use those?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Because you do know how to use them, don't you?
Yeah, like I said, it's part of the class. It was always part of the class, but I'm going to emphasize it a little more at this point, I think.
It's one of those things we're going to have to try to figure out how, as a store, I can lose more money, because I'm pretty good at that. But
Well, if you give it away in the parking lot.
yeah, we're probably going to have to just bust out a couple $12 chest seals.
No. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that.
It'd be nice for him to see what it looks like. Now,
You can show people those, but I have a video. I don't know. Have you ever seen my class?
I have videos. Of course I've seen your
Have
class.
you seen it? Then you remember
I
the
was
video?
there, and I have
know.
it on 6 different cameras, and I listen to it at audio all the way,
Do you-
all at home.
Do you,
I can watch it from home on my cameras, don't you? I listen to you and see what you're doing.
that sucks.
You're usually complaining about me, or you're like, Ernie left the door unlocked, or...
Did I really? No, I didn't.
No, you didn't.
Anyway.
But you do, you badmouth me. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, most people, well, my employees are okay with it. It's nice to be able to watch the store from home because, when the alarm goes off, let alone I'm one of those people that say, hey, you know what? If I have to eat $75 once in a while, it's worth it to catch the bad guys. So my alarm at my store, which is a very good alarm, triple redundant, it calls the police automatically. So if anything ever goes wrong, and it has in the past, you have some kind of glitch, I mean, it automatically dispatches the police. They don't call me because it's like, I don't want you wasting time calling me. So it's always nice, on my way there, responding to an alarm, the police department will call me and say, hey, we have officers on the way there or outside or whatever. And it's nice to be able to look around in there, even for their sake, to say, hey, there's nothing anywhere in the store. But it would be, God forbid there was somebody in there, it would be nice to be able to hold up a phone for them and say, look, here's all 8 different views, 9 if you know where to look. So I do watch your class, whether I'm there or not.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you don't need to bust. I mean, you can show people chests. We don't need to open one up. Yeah. I've got a pretty good video, I think, that shows that stuff. But yeah.
All right. September 22nd. I'll be up front the whole time so you know that I've seen your class.
I was just giving you a hard time.
I like it.
Because I'm going to tell another story.
Do it. I don't have to talk tonight. Awesome.
No, you don't. I put on Facebook. I was like, Wahoo! I got a lot of stuff to say. Wahoo. You know Barrett Kendrick, correct? You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
If you guys out there in whatever land don't know, then Google it.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Bear Co.
So he's a fellow instructor of ours, and we were going through the part of the class called Demystifying the Gun. And Rob Pincus was given this block of instruction, and he made a video about 2 years ago that's about 20 minutes long. I've seen it a few times. And we were doing the after action, and Barrett had admitted that he'd never seen it before. And Pincus was like, what? Like, seriously? Now, Barrett's one of the senior instructors. He's never seen that video. That was a mistake. I don't think he should have admitted that.
Yeah. You have to know when to take a bathroom break.
Right.
What were you guys talking about when I was gone? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, whatever. So, I mean, that's a good video, too. But yeah, that was funny.
What did Rob say in his 20-minute video?
Well, he talked about how you need to have a willing operator. You need to have ammunition. The slidey parts need to move. The other parts need to move. It's a machine. It's no different really than a stapler.
Yeah.
If
don't
have you ever used a stapler and you can't get it to work?
I don't use Milton stapler.
No. Not the red swing line.
All right.
But I mean, he kind of compared it to a stapler and draw some parallels, and he's just really saying, look, this is a tool like this iPhone. It's not going to magically kill everybody in the room unless they have somebody that knows how to use it. And there's many ways to make it not work correctly.
Yeah, true. And gets used for good and evil every day.
Yep.
Just depends on which way you want to go. So, people respond as an individual before they respond as a team.
That's correct.
I learned about that this weekend too. Yeah, we had, while you were gone, somewhere like you were down here on the road and Jamie Onion was in first class somewhere,
Oh, so you're talking about two-person armed defense.
Yes, two-person armed defense this last Sunday, which was awesome. That was neat to see. When Rob and all them, Barrett Kendrick, senior instructor that didn't see Rob's 20-minute video, when they were all here this June, I got to see Rob taught that class 3 different days. And I got to see, there was 12 or 13 couples, maybe even more than that went through it. So, two-person armed defense. This isn't two-man tactics to take a building or anything. It's simply you're out with your brother that carries a gun or your friend that carries a gun or your spouse that carries a gun or, your coworker that has a gun in my case. It's simply once you respond as an individual, which we will, because as you know, body's natural reactions, right, is you don't respond together in a choreographed way. Is if I see a threat over here, I'm going to freak out, orient myself toward that threat, and start initializing some kind of response that I've come up with in my head.
Who's that Mike Tyson that said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face?
Yeah. I've been punched in the face.
How'd your plan go?
Yeah, my plan went. It didn't go too bad, but it went bad at first. So I had to come up with my plan from the ground.
Yeah.
So I did learn at an early age that fights go to the ground a lot. So those dudes that wrestle kind of know what they're doing. So I learned to run like Forrest.
Also a good skill.
Yes. But that class was awesome to watch. If I drew a picture graph and said, here's how easy the class is. Look at these drills. Here's all you got to do. Super simple on paper. But, everybody there would agree that, like you've seen before, we're going to go through basically a tune-up of CFS because, you have to go through CFS to take this class, or you should. You have to have the fundamentals down to where, you're familiar with up command, you're familiar with the number drills, all that. So what's interesting is watching people. There's very accomplished shooters at this one, and you know who I'm talking about out there. They would hang themselves out to dry, too, that did you're like, they're right over there. They're in that little screen. I'm talking
How
to
do they
them right
fit
now.
in there?
Yeah. Awesome class, awesome people, different skill levels. But the one thing I would say that wasn't different was these groups of people's desire to learn and do it the right way.
They really wanted to be there.
They really wanted to be there. That's what's awesome. And we're all doing very well. I think it's one of the best classes I watched. And we had no guns pointed at us, so it's awesome. So
that's a win.
That's a win. But it was awesome during the debrief to listen to people say, hey, I shot the box and I could shoot the circle and I hit it this many times. And then all of a sudden you had me talking, communicating, coordinating.
Communicate, coordinate, and cooperate.
There you go.
Right?
And it was just interesting. And it was literally, these were the kind of people that they took it serious, the whole perceived penalty for a miss thing. But, they also laughed at themselves, as in, this is what I knew would happen, is I can do this a million times, but now all of a sudden I have to tell somebody, hold up and quit dragging me backwards so I can stop and shoot this circle. And I either forgot to tell them or I got all excited. I told them and then I blew the shot that I've been making all day. Yeah. So definitely going to bring Jamie back. We might even try to do a quick turnaround, have him come back October, November, which we'll tell the public and we'll get him out there. And, the class is normally a 2-day class. They have 1 day and a 2-day version of this.
Right. Yeah.
The 2-day, as far as I know, I read the other day Rob say the only 2-day class is offered out in Reno, so I'll have to look into that. So these students said, hey, if there's a second day, we want to take it. So maybe try to arrange that next April. But I'm going to get Jamie to come back here, and you and I need to go through that. It'll be awesome.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
It would be fun because we should do awesome. And then it would be interesting to see how we do.
We probably won't do awesome.
There is a point in the class when figure 8 drill, some of you have done it, familiar with it, figure 8 drill, right? Time to practice in context. Let's see if you can apply those skills that you have. You might have had the skills all day, but how can you apply them in context? The most untrained couple there, let me put it that way, and they would acknowledge that. The most untrained couple there did pretty rock solid through the figure 8. And it was pretty funny to watch the guy facing the targets had some malfunctions, had to clear his gun, and he yelled, I'm reloading, All of a sudden, he's like, you know what, I'm out. This lady takes her, remember you got a gun on your hand, you're holding on to the belt, right? So
yep.
She's holding on to his belt. She goes ahead and she lets go of her gun. It's in the holster. She has a hand on it in case she would have to respond to some other threat in the other direction. She reaches around, grabs a magazine, goes all the way out around his body and sticks up in front of him and says, take mine. And he just takes it and they keep going. Totally unplanned. That is not part of the class. We're not throwing each other magazines.
She just did it on the fly.
Did it on the
improvised,
fly.
Right?
and all the other, teams, couples, all the other people and Jamie Unruh over the side, we were just like, wow, did we just see that? It was flawless. So if there was such thing as cheerleaders on the sidelines of the figure 8, we would have been
doing that pyramid thing.
Yeah, we would leave our guns off, but we like the pyramid. Great class. So you and I have to go through it. I think it would be almost, I think that would be fun to advertise to people that, hey, we're going to have this class and Jamie Onion's a great instructor, but you get to take it with me and you.
Yeah.
And then I really do think it'd be fun to right then and there record some interviews at the end of what people thought of it. So good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. And, I always like to be embarrassed because I get embarrassed every single time.
Like when you went in the wrong bathroom on the way in here?
Well, besides that.
Okay.
No, every time but it's good though because you're pushing your limits.
Sure.
And I always try to push my limits, and so that's why I constantly get embarrassed. Because if you're in your comfort zone, then what happens? you're comfortable.
You're not pushing yourself. Never heard of a comfortable gunfight.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I read about it on the internet. Like the same place where I read that we tactically reload during the lull of the gunfight.
Yes.
So
The lull.
I've never been in a gunfight, but I hope mine has a lull.
They're usually over pretty quick.
Yeah. 9mm versus 45. You want to talk about it?
No, 9mm. Done.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah. Well, you've offended somebody.
I have.
Throwing thumbs.
Throwing
That's
thumbs.
Yeah. Tom Robinson would like, if he watched your podcast, he would love that. Let's find some of those questions you said.
Yeah,
that
let's
were
go to the
awesome.
Facebook questions.
I'm going to go look.
Let's go to Squashy's mail pouch.
Yes, it's almost like, how many people are even going to know? I feel like, hey, look, here you are. I'd just like to say, wahoo, psyched to be back in the studio. We got to go find these questions because, there's like the one, remember how the guy in Happy Gilmore had like a stalker? So ours might be James Tracy. I like
James,
it.
are you stalking us, dude?
I love that he chimed
He said
in.
he told me happy birthday yesterday.
That's awesome.
So thanks.
I'm trying to find like where we actually posted that.
It's on your CVO site.
Oh, that's right. I have a.
This is some good pod here, I
have.
We're both looking at our phones.
I have a Facebook page. Look at this. All right. What did people want to talk about? Oh, we won't talk about Eric Brennemer or Matt Wilson. Backup firearms. That's a good question. Personally, do you ever use a backup firearm?
I carry, I have carried two out in the public space, but I always carry one when I work as, a reserve officer.
Sure.
And then I try to carry one that's the same, like has the same manual of operations, the same caliber, maybe even accepts the same magazines, maybe.
That's crazy talk.
As my primary weapon. So
Okay.
yeah, that's what I generally try to do.
The way you say primary weapon sounds so cool.
That's, I slipped back. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's all right. Don't be ashamed that you're Special Forces, Mike. You usually don't let me beat that drum. Do I ever carry a backup? Very rarely. If I do, it is a 642 in an ankle holster, and when I do it, I'm usually here. It's fully legal. But here's why I do it. As a reserve officer like you, I play one on TV. Sometimes we can carry guns where our friends can't. You know what I mean?
Yep.
A different state, stuff like that.
Yep.
Went back when I would do more motorcycle riding when I had motorcycles and thought I was cool. There's a lot of times I would carry an extra gun on my ankle because it's like, hey, I have very qualified friends that know how to handle a firearm, but we're in a place where they legally can't, and they're responsible and they choose not to do that. But I can have two on me. And if the world came to an end, yes, I would hand one of those and answer later on, why did you give this guy a gun? He doesn't have a carry permit in that state. We'll worry about that after we leave.
Yeah, and even though ankle carry is not something we recommend, it's nothing's an absolute, and I usually carry on the ankle too, my other gun. So, because...
Works good on a motorcycle.
Yeah, it works good, anyway.
Throttles over here, I can reach down and get that, throw it to him. It looks like a scene's out of like Sons of Anarchy.
But didn't he have another question about what everyday carry something?
Everyday carry. What do you carry with you every day? Be honest.
What I carry every single day?
Everywhere you go.
Usually I carry my Spyderco.
Yep.
All right, so I got a folding knife that's pretty decent. Mm-hmm. Pepper spray. I got a little pepper spray Kubotan from Asp.
Really?
Yeah, I carry it every day. And a flashlight.
Yeah.
If I go anywhere, I always have those.
That's impressive. I would say the only thing I religiously carry is my firearm and a knife. I usually have a flashlight, but have I been caught without it? Yes. If I had the monetary value back in flashlights of that I've handed people or said, try this and you'll love it and give me mine back, like 50 flashlights ago. So, yeah, you're a better example than I am. I'm just
I don't know.
honest.
You just said you carry your firearm every day.
Every day.
Here I am, right? Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now I don't because I work a lot of places you can't have one.
Sure.
So I oftentimes am without a firearm, but I always have those other tools with me. And once again, it's not about. I'm already on my second one.
I
dude.
always have one of these with me too.
I know,
So.
but it's about mindset, and we've talked about that before.
Sure.
But
yeah, it's easy. I liked your everyday carry dump, in the hotel, your picture you put on Facebook. And, if I was you, as in I was going out of town somewhere like that, absolutely.
Oh, the other thing I always carry is my inhaler. Did you see that?
I did see that. It was awesome. I'm like, I wonder if it's
because
only
I'm an asthmatic old guy.
Yep. Yep. Yes. I need my albuterol. But no, it's definitely a knife. I got a customer, Tim King, that doesn't even watch podcasts, but somewhere his grandson will tell him they heard his name on the TV, long ago. That he told me about, a knifeless man is a lifeless man. And honestly, as an everyday tool, it's an awesome thing. And I've gotten way better about the habit of having a knife on me that's going to stay where it's at. That's my defensive knife.
Yeah.
And then I have my one in my right pocket that, though it's probably the easiest one to get to and it's most normal for me, I also open boxes and cut up.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I mean, if I'm going to carry two of anything, it's probably my knife.
Sure.
I got that Spyderco, but I also generally, unless I'm at work, I generally carry a fixed blade as well. Mm-hmm. So I have one on the weak side and one on the strong side, so I can get it from whichever.
Ken Crawford would love you right now.
I learned that from Ken.
Fixed blade knife?
Ken and Alessandro are like my knife idols.
Yes. They do what does he say, stabby things.
Stabby. And actually the fixed blade I carry is the Columbia River knife something, CRKT.
Columbia River Knife and Tool.
Yeah, knife and tool, that's right.
That's just the name of the company.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that's the manufacturer, but the knife.
The little fixed blade?
It's the little
like the minimalist.
Bowie minimalist. That's the one I carry. And
Yeah.
Ken actually recommended that to me.
They work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cut the crap out of my
I don't know if they
right
still have the same little owner's manual, but used to when you bought a Columbia River Knife and Tool, it'd have like a little owner's manual warranty thing or whatever. They were the ones that it said a knife is the least effective, most expensive pry tool you'll ever own. And it was kind of their way of saying they do have a lifetime warranty, but if you send it back with the blade snapped in half, that's called trying to pry things with it. That's not using a knife as a knife.
It's not for a pry bar.
Yes.
So what's the other thing you carry? You carry anything else?
Well, I mean, you want me to say everything? So,
well, no, I usually carry where I'm kind of going is I usually carry some sort of medical equipment just because I am who I am. But
you mean like tourniquet?
Yeah, I usually carry an ankle.
I don't have I wear too many shorts to have the ankle thing, but I ordered it. Yeah, because pants season will be here soon. I'm usually the guy that has two tourniquets that are Velcro together and horribly
in your pocket.
Yes, and they're horribly unorganized. Hey, but I'll get it done. But yeah, it's and Jamie Onion laughed because I literally do. I have one with me. I have 3 in my car, and I have 6 in my bag. And then of course you have your one simple kit for the range, but. As we were getting ready for class Sunday morning, he's like, because the two-person armed defense involves doing a lot of things in communicating and using a gun, like any other class, you and I are going to sit down and say, here's the medical plan, right? In case anybody gets hurt. And he's just joking, saying, well, we're going to need 8 tourniquets because we got 8 people or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I got them. And I literally did pull 8 tourniquets out of my bag that were all stuck together like a barrel of monkeys. And he looked at me really weird. He's like, well, can we separate those out? And I'm like, dude, those aren't really the ones for class. But
it's like training tourniquets.
Sure. They're not, though, because once you use them for training, you don't trust your life to them, right?
Yeah, they're no good, no. I've been on a tourniquet
I just looked.
spree.
Yeah. You've been buying them?
I've been buying.
Because you're an eBay guru.
Well, I am.
Yeah.
But I've been buying tourniquets that I see to try them out.
The rats.
I've got the rats. I've got the SWAT.
What do you think of the rat? Let's do it.
Okay, so.
Okay.
This is my opinion on the rats. Mm-hmm. Number one, it may have an application for like infants, right? So if their limbs are too small for a regular tourniquet, I can see it being effective if that's all you have. And again, it may be effective if that's all you have on a regular size human. But really, if you think about it, what's a tourniquet supposed to do? It's supposed to compress that flesh and compress that tissue and occlude those veins and, just stop the bleeding. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you can get it tight enough on, say, your thigh is probably too big to get it too tight, right? And you're not a huge guy.
I'm pretty fat.
No, it's not a fat thing. It's a large, people's legs are just naturally very muscular. Sure. You're going to have
let me put it this way.
A lot of force to get that
Somebody's going to give you a Rats or a Cat 5. What are you going to use?
Well, I'm going to use a Cat.
All right. It's that simple.
But
Cat 5 or a soft T?
For a leg, I use a soft T.
Mm-hmm. Could you get by with a Cat?
Yeah, you absolutely could. So, Cat, soft T wide, the better choices. rats may have a little niche for like small people, or if you can't carry anything else. The SWAT tourniquet, crap. Don't use it for anything. Well, I take that
Wow,
back.
That's brave.
You can use it for a pressure dressing if you want, but it ain't a tourniquet.
Okay.
It's not. You're not going to get that tight enough. And then I just ordered one called the TK4, which I'd never heard of before. It looks like an elastic strap with 2 hooks on it. This guy said it's good for. I've really gotten to like, what about kids? So
Sure.
I ordered it he claims it works good on kids. So I ordered it, and I'm going to see. But looking at the YouTube videos, I think he's full of it.
Okay. But
Because I don't
maybe
think you
that's
can get it tight enough.
Let's say then, why don't we dedicate ourselves to this? Let's do a video on that and put it on our like YouTube channel.
Sure.
Sure.
I've got all of those.
I was looking down at my extravagant notes. Not only do you have a medical class on September 22nd, you have one on October 27th.
Yes, I do.
You are super organized.
Yes.
6 to 9 p.m. for only $50. I'm going to come to that class.
Are you? Or are you going to watch it on video?
Simon, you should come to medical class. Should do it. All the more reason.
What'd you
should.
say?
Oh, he stepped into it.
Well, I didn't hear what he said.
He said he's an EMT.
Oh, are you really?
But-
Sweet.
But do EMTs do the kind of things we do in medical class?
They can.
No, do they? Do they ever do it at their job?
They can.
Do they? I could shoot 2 guns at once too, but
It's
What
it's
I'm
not.
saying
It
is-
doesn't happen as often as you think, or as often as people think.
what I'm saying is EMTs, even at some level, work in pairs. They work in, when I say choreographed, they go to similar calls a lot. So
Yeah.
the thing we want for him to come and learn is save yourself too.
Yeah.
Like, how many EMTs practice like, this is going to happen?
Well,
to
no,
me?
that's an absolutely valid point.
Yeah.
I will be the first to admit that there's a lot of people out there in the EMS community that probably need a little more training
Yeah.
because they don't do it enough.
And I mean that respectfully. I'm not.
No,
I
but-
love the first responders, but just like we had surgeons come to our class, doctors
Yeah.
come to our class that
Yeah.
said, "I needed this. I needed this for my camping
it's not
trip."
it's not a common skill because you don't use it a lot, and if you don't use it, you lose it. You know that old cliche. And I'm not saying that they're not trained. I'm saying that there's a lot of things that people just need. You need to constantly train, and humans are humans and people are people, and they respond individually.
Yep.
Some people are more motivated to keep their skills up than others.
Well put. Well put. And speaking of saving lives, how many times do we say medical class will probably help you more than anything we teach, right?
We say that a lot.
But even more so, what am I going to say? What's the number one class you have coming up September 18th that really would probably statistically have the chance of, if you taught 200 people at my store over the next year to do this, they'll probably save a life. One of them before their life's over.
You talking about the Heart Saver CPR?
There you go, man. CPR.
Yeah, that's a new class we're starting because I think it's important.
Yeah. Well, I've watched people do CPR.
I had a good friend of mine, like a really good friend, I've known him for 30 years, give me crap on Facebook saying, hey, I heard that only 11% of the people that get CPR performed on them survive. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't know about that statistic, but I know 100% of the people that don't get CPR on them are dead.
And hold on. How many people get CPR performed a year in the United States of America?
I have no idea.
Do you think it rhymes with tens of thousands?
I will tell you that I personally have done CPR twice in the last 10 days.
Yeah. So there's a challenge to you. Let's go back and find out from our beloved government how many times people do CPR a year. So if you only save 11% of those, it's probably only a couple thousand people.
Yeah, and they don't matter.
It's like the town of Vinton living and not dying.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Be a start.
Doesn't matter.
So
Soylent Green.
what I'm trying to do is keep a straight face and keep this thing
You know how
going.
many people don't even know what I'm talking about?
Well, top that off with me reading your shirt every 5 minutes. I keep trying not to laugh. Your shirt, we should put on that. Hopefully, actually, yeah, he's on camera, not just me. Sexy Mike's on there. Yeah, that's awesome. You need to show that to everybody.
Sure.
You should read it out loud. It's upside down. You should. You can't read upside down.
I can't read upside down.
That's awesome, though. It's so true, though. Like that's the kind of things you would joke with your friends about, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Just look cool.
It's funny because it's true. That's
Yeah.
what the guy on The Simpsons says, right?
One more class you got to talk about next week because it's getting full. It's awesome. Women's self-defense class. Have you ever even? I know your wife and your daughter went through it, but have you ever came and watched the whole thing?
I don't think I've seen the whole thing.
I would love to get you there, other than trying to say I need Mike McAmeel to show up for 3.5 hours, 2 different nights on a weeknight. I might as well just play the lottery. I actually probably have better odds.
Pre-planning, man. I'm telling you, pre-planning
Prevents poor performance.
poor performance. Yeah.
Por favor.
We're on a roll. We are on a roll.
No,
Enunciation.
I was at dinner earlier tonight having some kick butt fajitas, and my wife was having a margarita, which
I
is
had
fine.
Taco Tuesday yesterday. It's Mexican week.
It's practically the same thing.
It is?
And she's like, "Hey, you should take me to be on your podcast."
You
And I'm
should.
like, oh, I did. And I told her, I said, I would do it. But honestly, my wife, who's a very smart woman, and is like the only reason that we keep going is because she supports my family because she's awesome. But she would have some really cool things to talk about. And but I said, what could we talk about tonight and have you on the podcast? And she could say, how did she describe it? Being completely unaware. And I think she used the words ignorant to my surroundings. So my wife is the queen of saying she knows what she should be like, but she'll be honest and say, I'm totally like the person you could walk up to in the parking lot because I'm thinking about the 50 things at work I have to do. And Ethan has 3 more loads of laundry.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
what
get
time
it.
does the football game start?
Oh, I get it.
Friday. But even that in itself, I'm like, that's it. That's perfect.
And have you met my wife, by the way? You have, right?
I'm very afraid of your wife. She's,
No, I didn't say that's not the reaction I was looking for, but it's cool.
Your wife was so funny the other day where she was like a ping pong ball in
I
the
know,
store.
man. That's
Hey,
what
buy
I'm-
me this. Get me this. Why didn't you
like-
have one of these?
I'm
You're-
like, no.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, and because she watches this podcast, no,
No.
you're not coming on the podcast because we'd be even more squirrel brain than we already are.
It would be fun, though.
Yeah, it
How
would be
about
fun.
We should have a wife night.
We should.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is not only is my wife clueless about what's going on, even though she's been to all this training, she's been to land the plane twice.
Yeah.
And
she
the
can't
women's
find
self
and she can't find the plane.
and she can't find the plane. Doesn't even know what row she's in.
Yeah.
But she actively seeks out perfect strangers.
Yeah.
She's the one that they're like, "Hey, hold up. I don't know you."
Yeah.
She's the one they're doing that to.
I liked your
If they
story.
got a baby,
Yeah.
forget it.
Oh,
forget it.
They can just walk right up to you.
I have
they got
left
like
her.
an AK and a baby, but they can walk up to her.
Dude, I have left her in so many restaurants because we'll get up, I'll pay the check. She'll be like, "Oh, baby," and she'll walk, and I'm like, "I'm out," and I just go sit in the car
That's awesome.
because I'm not gonna stand there whistling and my hands in the pockets.
Bad guys that watch our show are thinking that right now.
Get a
that's right,
baby.
Get a baby. No, now that you're home safe, and it was long ago. Yeah, your Facebook post when you were in Washington D.C. was awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Like,
we're not from around here.
Yeah, we're not from around here, and we have all this cash. What do we do? And we don't carry guns. Yeah. I
Yeah.
could just see your reaction to that.
I was so pissed.
We'll have a spouse night. It'll be fun.
I was literally mad. I was like, "What are you doing?"
But at least you laughed.
I did.
But she was awesome in the store the other day because your wife's a ball of fire. It was so funny because like she would go pick this up, say, "Why didn't you get me one of these?" Or "When do I get one of those?" And you were like, "I need to leave."
And what did I say though? I said because you won't use it.
Yeah, it would be one more thing that sits at home on the dresser.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. All right. Other questions, by the way. We almost got off
What's the
track.
name of this show?
Girls and Guns. I don't even remember.
Have we talked about guns in the last 20 minutes?
We don't want to talk about guns.
Okay.
Why did I remember that whole I said earlier, like Rob Pincus, some people would say when they ask him, what would you change? Maybe I wouldn't call it combat focused shooting. Maybe we shouldn't call it CVO Gun Talk. We'll talk about guns. We talked about a backup gun.
We did.
I carry
What's
a gun.
What's the next question?
You ready?
I'm ready.
Guns in schools. And I like this because
All right.
here's
They're
what
not
I've-
going to want my answer.
Somebody out there, I mean, they can not like your answer.
Yeah,
I
that's all right.
I might not like your answer.
You might not. We might argue on it. I don't know.
That's okay. But somebody out there in my store, several people somewhere, I know they're going to say, "Yeah, that was me, Ernie." I was talking to these people saying, I'm not the here. Look, I need this. It's like a pictogram. See those there? I have too many of those in my closet.
Is that the night? What is
So-
that? Day of the Dead, or what is that?
Actually, it's from there. So I would never run for any political office whatsoever.
Right.
Because, we don't want to talk about like hookers and blow or anything or driving 150 miles per hour in your muscle car, nothing. We don't want to bring any of that up.
Nope.
So, but it's a couple times I get like passionate, like mad passionate, like calm down and how could you do this the right way? Is I'm really a big believer that there should be exceptions to have guns allowed in schools, even if you made those exceptions, what would I say? You would have to be one motivated and dedicated individual to pass all the testing and have it not like, hey, you passed it once and now you can carry a gun for the next 20 years. It's no different than like, let's say some people may hate hunting, but I don't care, whatever. There's bow hunting in Iowa, and then there's bow hunting in Squaw Creek. You can get a special license. You can get a license to bow hunt in town. And if you want to do that,
Squaw Creek is a park.
Yeah, Squaw
for
Creek
people
Park.
that don't know. Yeah.
Well, because for the people just joining us from Great Britain, Squaw Creek is a park in Lynn County, Iowa.
And it's not a comment; it's the name,
yes.
right?
Yes. So, point being is you have to actually go take an accuracy test. Now, granted, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's hard. You're still just shooting a bow at paper. Totally different context. But the point being is,
but Ernie, why do we have to have a test to exercise our right to self-defense?
Exactly, I understand. Because if you shoot my kid in the background, I'm going to be mad. That's why.
Yes.
So, just like I'm not going to try to guess what your answer is, and you say people won't like your answer, but
I think we're going to agree more than you think.
Well, first of all, like you said, it's a mindset. Instead of having 10 people somewhere in the Cedar Rapids school system with guns, I'd rather have 100 teachers that say, you know what? We can take this dude. I've seen it. We've trained it. We've practiced frequent and realistic training. One person with a handgun, one person with a rifle, one person with a firearm really can't take control of a school if you decide we're just not going to let you do that. But easier said than done, right? You got to be.
No, I think
somebody has to go first.
Somebody always has to go first.
Somebody has to go first.
And I think I'm going to say 95% agree, only because I haven't heard your whole rationale, but
I want Matt Wilson to be in all our schools with a belt-fed machine gun.
Only Matt.
Only Matt.
No, what I was going to say...
Have you met Matt Wilson? We only need one.
Yeah, we only need... Have I met Matt Wilson? He put on a red man suit and beat the crap out of me trying to take my gun, which he got, by the way.
Yeah.
Because you can't... When you're like 5'7" and 190 pounds, you're not going to fight off he's like 78 foot tall, isn't he?
Matt Wilson? Are you talking about the right guy?
Big guy?
Matt Wilson. You'll know him when you see him.
Different Matt Wilson.
Different.
I'm talking about Big Matt.
Which Big Matt?
Big one.
What class?
The level 2 knife class that this maybe teaches.
Nope. Different class.
All right. Anyway.
Different guy.
Never mind. Anyway,
it's okay.
The point was proven, though. You're not going to keep your gun away from a big dude that wants it very long.
No, you're not.
So.
Especially if you're me.
Especially if you're you. Or me. But back to the whole guns in school things, I agree with you. I don't think that giving every teacher a gun is the answer. I mean, do I think they should be allowed to have guns? Yeah. If they know how to use them and if they're properly trained and motivated. And I don't know how that would look, but it's totally a mindset issue. You're going to have teachers that don't want to carry guns. What are they going to do? Stand around? No, they need to have other techniques, other tools. They need to have the will to fight. That's what you need. You need to have the will to fight.
You need 50 more fire extinguishers in the school.
Yeah. 50 more fire extinguishers.
When people joke about that, and I'll say, you can go way back on my Facebook post and literally, not to name names, I won't throw them under the bus, you have people saying, you want my kid to throw cans of beans? Because we go back to the idea of the Alice training. Do. Yeah. Why don't you come into a room, ill intentions or not, and try to focus on shooting a gun and harming people while 20 cans of Bush's famous beans fly at your head. Good luck telling yourself that you just don't react to that.
I was talking to a mutual acquaintance of ours that happens to be a police officer in the town that I work at.
I know a lot of police officers where you're at.
Do you know where I was at today?
Yes, I do.
So you probably know who I'm talking about. He just recently went to a active shooter response course that was geared towards law enforcement and EMS. And we actually had this discussion, and he made the comment that part of the training, they were told to, when they entered a room with a gun, to help the people, to expect to get attacked. Because so many people have been taught now, which is a good thing, that you need to throw things, attack, do whatever to the bad guy, that there's a good chance they might be doing it to the cops.
Yeah.
because they might not recognize it right off. So they're they're teaching cops to like be ready for that.
Sure. You have an active shooter in a school. Everybody tries to get out. Maybe some of them barricade. How many rooms are filled with people? 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, yeah, the first guy that comes through the door with a gun's probably going to get attacked. But good for them. You and I both know law enforcement will accept those lumps and bruises.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're trained to kind of expect that.
Sure. Are you checking your text messages?
No, I'm looking to see if there's
Other
any
questions?
more questions. Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of good questions. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
We should have like callers. Caller number 3 on the line from Cleveland, Ohio. So, hey, back to the point. Should teachers be allowed to conceal carry? Do it. Hello? We're accepting your donations right now. Line 3 is open. So, guns in schools, should teachers be allowed to conceal carry if they pass stringent weapons course? So, generically, I agree with that. But like you said, only the people that want to. And the problem you have there is you're always going to have the people that say, I think it's a crazy idea that's teachers. Would you say that maybe that guy over there in the corner, some teachers would think that's crazy? So they would be up against, again, you're back up, hey, let's talk about mindsets. You're up against this mindset that because a teacher will take the massive responsibility to go armed in a classroom and all the training they would need, in my opinion, to be efficient and effective at that, right? Same thing. All things that are efficient are effective. But talk about a lot of things to think about, But you would have tons of teachers that think you're just a crazy yahoo. When you actually look at the opposite of this teacher knows that every single thing they do when they present that firearm will be literally by the 10th of a second subsectioned and armchair quarterback.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There is no other device that gets used that people say, well, here between shot number 2, when the guy went down, why did you shoot shot number 3, even though your split times are 0.26 of a second? So you wanted me in 0.26 of a second to realize he had started to fall toward the ground and not pull the trigger a third time. Because the first 2 were justified, but by God, that third one, hit him in the head and killed him. And maybe, by the way, passed through his body and hit Billy in the background, and now you have a lawyer.
And that's the problem.
But you and I go into this saying, would I still do that? Would I still take that responsibility myself? Yes.
Yes, I would, yes.
And then people are like, then that makes you a crazy yahoo. No, I understand. My whole world could get wrecked. And I think you would agree, maybe some of the 1,000 people that have been through the carry class would agree, I'm not a guy that tells you to go out and get involved in much. I'm not going to go be a hero to save the, person being robbed at Casey's. Like I tell everybody is you decide ahead of time what you're willing to live or die for. And the way I look at it is there's very few things I'm going to go interject myself in, me and my firearm, to go try to stop. And people, they're very pissy about that.
Well, see, I mean, there's things that you have to know as a carrier of a firearm, and one of the things you have to know is your limitations. You have to know the proper time to keep it in the holster. You have to know can I make that shot or not?
Sure.
We're not going to, I always use the story of the Christmas tree and the lottery shooter, right? Yeah. So you don't want to be that dude, especially in a room full of kids or a lot of people and there's an active shooter. Am I going to take a 50-yard shot with my pistol and hope that it's going to hit the guy? Probably not. So then the gun becomes a expensive paperweight.
Yep.
So, it's all situationally dependent.
Sure. But I get, and you're talking like factual, technical, can you do this? And what I'm saying, this is just me personally, and I tell people on their own level they need to figure it out is, I have a wife and kids. I have to answer to them on hey, I went and saved this guy that was being robbed in the parking lot, and I shot this guy I perceived as a bad guy, which, great, turns out it wasn't. It's an undercover cop, Do those kind of things happen? Absolutely. Or, hey, I shot at the bad guy, and a round skipped off the ground and hit somebody, and now we're being sued, and my wife loses her house because she's married to me. You know how it is. They're going to follow the money train, right? So, and it's not me saying I'm trying to protect my wife's money. It's like I have to think about what I'm going to wreck my life over. Now, I personally, because my wife and I have talked about such things, which would be great if we had her on the show, right? You
We're
know,
going to have that show.
I see you shooting kids, shooting school kids, shooting kids at all. You know, you pull up to drop your kid off at school and somebody's out shooting kids on the Washington football field. I'm going to go do some crazy ass stupid stuff. And when I say stupid, as in I'm going to put myself in all kinds of harm's way to help kids. And if I get myself shot up, die, wounded, you know, paraplegic, whatever, that's the kind of thing I don't have to worry about answering to my family for. You know what I mean? And that's where I tell people that's not a hero complex. I'm quite the opposite. It's saying, here's clear-cut things I know I'm willing to risk my life for, and risk letting my family down from the point of view that, hey, I'm gone, and you have to deal with all the aftermath. That's a pretty short list of things I'm going to do. And literally,
It's got to be a short list.
Oh, it is. But you'll have a lot of people. You don't have to go back very far on Facebook to find people calling me a lot of names about, you wouldn't get involved in this, so you're a wussy because of this, and it's like, no, I have a short list.
You got me. You got the tater.
Yeah. That's awesome. More Facebook questions. Let's do it. Do we keep making better shows or worse shows? Because I think they're worse, and then people say that was the best one. Hold on.
I'm just having fun tonight. I don't
Look
know.
at this. Somebody says Hillary Clinton says she's not after our guns. Okay, she lies, but what about her vice president or her VP pick?
Who cares? Vote down ballot. So president doesn't make gun policy.
Yeah,
the Congress does, and everybody else. Worry about those people.
Wait a minute, though. Does the president sign executive orders?
They do.
Okay. All right.
I'm saying people are worried about the wrong thing.
We're not going to talk about politics because
the camel is getting the nose under the tent right now while you worry about Hillary Clinton.
I have a very clear-cut path for myself, but what I will talk about, tell me you haven't seen this commonly, is people say the presidential election and your choices should not be the lesser of two evils. True. But isn't everything the lesser of two evils in life?
Also true.
That's worth it.
Unless you're voting for me.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to have to pee like you. I might want to be like you, but...
Yeah. Don't encourage him, man.
Who?
Brenneman.
He's on there right now.
I know he is.
He's live. Listen to you. If there was such thing as a live show...
Do not encourage that dude.
Eric would rappel through the ceiling.
I felt bad for him today. He was out doing concrete in the pouring rain, said he needed a kayak. He was worried about, some disgruntled employees. It was a bad day for Eric.
Well, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know Eric Brenneman, he is cornbread, and he's Mike's biggest follower. Also happens to be an outstanding guy, actually.
He is. We like to give each other a hard time.
You guys give each other very hard time. I think it's a wrestling thing. You wrestlers, you never let it go. You like to beat up on each other.
Yeah. He started it.
Here, I have a friend, a customer. I wouldn't call him a friend, no offense. I only know him as a customer. But he texted me some really serious things. He said, hey, follow up on the Matt McCoy topic from last time. What's my update on Matt McCoy? He hasn't got a hold of me, so I'm going to have to reach out to him because I don't know if he realizes that prescription drugs kill a lot more people than guns in Iowa and in the actual country. So I've had to touch base with him. Police appreciation update, which right now I'm going to tell you isn't going to happen until late fall. Do you even know I'm doing that? Going to have a big party for police?
Well, we talked about it. I didn't know the date or the specifics.
Yeah, we don't have a date because we were going to try to do it in my parking lot, and the church, being my landlord, they're all about it, and they love me, and I'm going to have to break their heart and kind of say, I really need like an indoor plan. So I still might have it at my store because that church is big enough to hold hundreds of people. But I also talked to, like if I was associated with the police department in Hiawatha, I asked my chief, because that's a nice central location. It's not because I'm associated with them. But between Lynn County, Cedar Rapids, Robbins, Mary, and all that, it would be a nice to where people on duty could stop by. So we will keep people updated on that. And I'm going to reach out and like ask for help. Like, hey, come be a volunteer and cook bratwurst or whatever. Any Tannerite customer stories? That's a good one. I have had a couple customers that do things with Tannerite they shouldn't. Not illegal, things that are not smart. Don't put 2 pounds of Tannerite underneath like solid objects and shoot it. I think that's...
But it's fun to watch stuff go boom.
Mm-hmm. Till it comes back and hits you going like 1,800 feet per second. Right? So you do remember the story of the dude that shot the lawnmower, cut off his leg?
Yes.
Did you watch that? You can go watch the video.
I watched the video.
Blood and guts everywhere. That's like a B-rated movie where... I mean, the blood hits the screen of the guy recording like immediately. So, like, yeah, don't blow up lawnmowers and have pieces catch your leg off.
You want to hear a Special Forces Mike story?
Tell me.
All right.
Does it involve a goat?
No, it involves blowing stuff up in inappropriate like distances.
Okay, go ahead.
So we were on a demolition range.
Wait,
and
you were in the Special Forces?
No,
Okay.
but I played one on TV. Anyway,
You have the T-shirt.
yes, I have it. So we were on a demolition range. I can't remember where it was, overseas somewhere. Somewhere where the rules didn't really apply to us. I mean, they applied to us even less than they normally applied to us.
Okay.
Like basically do what we want. And we had all this demolition. We had 1,000-pound cratering charge, like the stuff they put on runways to like make them unusable for planes. And we put it under a 1.5 truck because we wanted to see what it would do.
Hey, you know what it'll do?
Well, I do know that if you're too close, you may or may not get an engine block whizzing by your head. So,
And they weigh like a couple pounds, don't they?
yeah, maybe
Engine
1 or
blocks?
2 pounds. And it makes, they call it a cratering charge because why?
Well, it makes a little divot in there.
Because it makes a crater. And yeah, that was
we
pretty
call
cool.
that a defilade.
A defilade. But that was pretty cool and something I'll never get to do again. But that was an experience.
So, John, I know you're listening out there. Sorry, I don't have any specific tannerite stories, but Mike does have a crater charge story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, never put a cratering charge under a 1.5.
I don't think we'll do that here in Iowa.
No.
Unless everybody wants to chip in, everybody buys $200 worth of tannerite, and then we all put it in one giant pile. And then I could have Banger. You're friends with Banger. We could have Banger bring down a 2.5.
Yeah. No, he's got a
And
couple
say,
of them.
sorry-
He can spare one.
Sorry about your $8,000
Hey, Mark, you can spare one,
truck.
right? Yeah, you can spare one.
Just give it to us. All right. Here's another good question he posed. State of the industry, handgun or rifle supply issues, ammo shortages, what could be possible? What is going on now? What could be possible? So, first of all, if anybody ever says I'm the guy that sells things on hype because the election's coming, you're full of crap. But I do talk about facts. And every single election, we go through this. Every single election, when people say, so-and-so gets in, we're going to do this, that. So it isn't political if I just say one of the candidates has already said, hey, here's what I'll do. Here's what I'll enact in the first 100 days, right?
Yep.
So do I think that we are going to see record gun sales around this election? Yes, you are. There's going to be shortages based off of people just buying up what they perceive.
Even more record gun sales than the ones we've already had?
Yeah.
Like even more.
And
Okay.
strangely enough, in the last 2 years of record gun sales, after 4 years of record gun sales, I'm not making record money. But people always find that hard to believe. But I always remind them that.
Well, gun sales revenue doesn't always
Oh, yeah.
equate to margin or
Sure.
profit, right?
Yeah.
So
And-
just because you sell 100 widgets doesn't mean you know.
Yep. And that's what I remind people is, post, 2014, coming down on the last part of 2013 into 2014, the entire gun industry would tell you they were tanking. After Newtown and all the politics of the 2012 election and all that, and record gun sales, everybody went out and bought stuff, and there was a glutton for a while, and then it tapered off. So, but as a industry, absolutely, there's record NICS checks and record gun sales every year. But 2014 would probably be the first year I would tell you that you start going from making any money to losing money. And, it, like you said, it doesn't matter if I sold 4,000 guns that year. It matters, did I make any money on them? So
Yeah.
I remind people that record gun sales does not mean record profits.
So
Antis like to say that. Record
Yeah.
profits.
record.
Yeah. I haven't met any rich people in the gun industry.
So
really
I
haven't.
do have a question though, seriously, because I
Fire away.
haven't been tracking it because it's not something that I'm really all that interested in. But has the 22 ammo shortage been resolved at all?
Oh, it's never going to be resolved. Ever. I'm telling you, ever. Somebody can say, hey, wait
I mean,
back.
it was really, really bad a couple of years ago.
Well, sure. I have a friend, Eddie. Hi, Eddie. You probably don't watch. He works for a manufacturer of ammunition that's really big and been around for a long time. That's how I'll put it. Like he would tell you, and a lot of people don't understand, is like, hey, I got in some 22 from the distributor like this week. And I ordered that 22 as in it's on back order constantly with the distributor, and they got some in. They're like, hey, we like Ernie. We're going to give them this much. They ordered that 2 years ago from the factory. That's how they have to project things out.
Yeah.
So people don't, they're like, no, you just got it in. Yeah, I got it in from the people that ordered it 2 years ago. So rimfire ammo is definitely still a couple years behind, So when people are like, you mean there won't be any for 2 years? No, I'm just saying that, there was a point in time where some companies would say, I'll go back to 2013. I'm going to use a hypothetical that's real. It's like, hey, they said, if we stop right now in March, end of first quarter, and we quit taking orders, 2013, end of March.
So 3 years ago,
Yeah.
3.5 years ago.
If we stop taking orders now, by 2015, we'll have all our orders filled. If you quit taking orders. So, I mean, it's going to be this accordion effect somewhat, but you're never going to buy $2 box ammo again, for 22. You're never going to have the selection everywhere all the time. And some people will say like, hey, look, so-and-so got in a bunch. I understand. These big, huge stores, they get in a nice selection for a couple days and poof, it's gone. And, I buy everything from distributors when it comes to ammunition. There's some people that buy it direct, and what that does in this industry is they promise you'll have this many rounds before squirrel season of 2017, right? But you got to pay for it no matter what. Like, you have to take those 900,000 rounds of 22. I don't have the money to do that, so I buy it from distributors.
So let me ask you this, and serious question here. And
is it the currency of the new world? Yes.
Well,
22 always will be.
That wasn't the question I was going to ask, but interesting info. What I was going to ask is, honestly, what kicked all that off? When did it start becoming the currency of the new world, and why? And why?
What did I just say we had for the last 2 years and the last 4 years before that, and actually basically the last 15 years?
We had panic buying.
No, we had record gun sales.
Well, yeah.
What was the first gun you bought?
Ever in my life?
Ever.
That's a good question.
Okay. What's the most common caliber purchased for new purchasers?
I'll say 22.
Yeah.
Right?
So you have, I say, the gun people, so they can punch me in the throat. Here we go. They're like, rah, rah, rah. We have all these look how strong we are, as in we're gaining numbers and we have all these new gun owners. Yeah, a lot of new gun owners buy a 22. And then over here, you're complaining that there's not enough 22 ammo because it's all being bought up. And it must be a government conspiracy. It must be this. People are hoarding it.
They grind up 22 ammo to make the chemtrails.
No, they do that with crickets.
Oh.
The point
My
is,
bad.
What's funny is people will just say, well, everybody's hoarding it. No. Me walking into a store and buying 1,000 rounds, and this is what's funny, 500 or 1,000 rounds of 22, you call that hoarding it? It's like, it's 22. When it was affordable, we used to shoot 500 rounds a day.
Well, I mean, I was always told, or I kind of used the benchmark that 1,000 rounds of whatever caliber you have is kind of basic load.
That's a basic, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And 22, if you go backwards 5 or 10 years in 22, well, you'd only have to go back, let's say we'll go back to 2010-ish, 11-ish. A 5,500 round case was $199. So 5,500 rounds of 22, which honestly, if you have kids and friends that you take out shooting, going through 500 rounds of 22 is nothing. That's like an hour or two of shooting.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're going to load 25 round mags for your kid with a Ruger 1022, yeah, it's going to go away. So there was no hoarding. There was no, we cut back the production so we could raise the price. It's crazy.
Just more demand, really.
It's more demand. Like I said, they'll all talk about their record gun sales and how they're happy to see all these new people buying guns. But remember, a lot of those guns are 22s. The ATF even actually puts out like a production list saying this company built this many guns. They do that. It's available to the public. So when you see all these 22 pistols and rifles being sold, people got to put gasoline in the tank. So.
Yeah, they do. I just remember what my very first gun was. That was a perplexing question. But it wasn't the first one I bought. The first one I ever possessed.
Possessed was what?
A Winchester Model 70 Youth Shotgun 20 gauge. I still got it.
Hold on. No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
A Winchester Model what?
70A.
70?
70A.
70A.
Youth model.
Okay.
20 gauge.
All right.
Single shot.
Everyone into Winchester shotguns, get back to Mike with the details of what that gun really was. All right. We're going to give them homework.
What?
Repeat
Wait
again.
a minute. Wait a minute.
Repeat again.
Hold on, dude.
It was a Winchester?
I got a picture of it on my phone.
Okay. Now, I don't care about the picture.
No.
I want you to Google the words you just said.
I don't know what I said, but I'm going to give you a picture. And
I don't know what I just said. What does it mean? Can you describe it?
Just hold on.
Simon knows what it means. Oh.
I'm being called out as being incorrect, and, that pains me. Wait a minute, that's not the right one. Oh, there we go.
What are we learning? We got
What?
some.
I'm looking.
I
Oh, okay.
I don't. This is what I call comfortable silence. I'm okay with this.
No, I got it right
I don't know about the 212 people that might watch us, maybe, but it's comfortable silence.
Okay. So wait a minute. I got to get you the full picture.
Okay.
I got it. I got it.
I don't care about the picture.
There. Look. What's that?
It has no make and model number on it.
It says 70A on the barrel.
Where? 78. I see a serial number.
You're gonna have to trust me on it.
Okay. You want me to trust you? This is under guns and ammo. You keep pictures of your.
I do.
I like the shell holder in the stock so you can tactical reload. But try to do it during the lull of the gunfight, which for you will be after the one round goes off.
I think I'm being made fun of here.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I'm pained.
I'm super, super happy that was your first shotgun. And I would.
My
agree.
dad gave me that gun.
No, I love it.
I shot pheasants with that gun.
I love it. I think that my first gun at all was definitely same deal. It was a bolt action 410 Mossberg shotgun. And back when, it's funny because there'll be many people that know what I'm talking about. The safety selector, for green for unsafe, red means it's going to go off, were plastic stickers, kind of like those, almost like a googly eyes. That
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so it's like, how many times that they made guns is like the safety selector for on off or stickers. So mine fell off by 5th or 6th grade, but it was okay. I'm trying to look up other model. What'd you call it?
Forget it.
No. I want
Forget it. Nope, it's done. Nope, we're done. We're done. Moving on.
Can you call your wife?
Next question.
Live.
No.
I want you to call your wife.
No.
Yeah. She's
No.
probably at my store asking why you won't buy her a monkey's fist.
She really, really wants one.
I know, but she'll leave it at home with the other stuff.
No, she might carry it.
Okay. Then I'll get her one if she'll carry it.
She'll carry it.
Then you get me a list of her favorite colors and I'll have it made up.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Something cool.
All right. Next
Where else
question.
have you been? Next question. There is more questions.
Well,
you should look it up.
Where else? No.
Hey, we're not off the rails yet.
No.
I mean, we're not even approaching. We're not even approaching being way off the rails like we were last time. John has some good questions.
Did we talk about?
He also wanted to talk about. Here we go. First of all, I'm going to say I don't know that much, but I know more than I say I do. He asked about pot and gun sales issue in Colorado, and I've said many a times,
how they correlate or
hey,
what?
You watch, that freight train's coming. Because if you saw recently in the news, the court decided that, hey, I don't care that you have a medical marijuana card. You don't get to own a gun.
Yeah, I think I did read something.
Marijuana
like that.
might be legal in your state for your medical reasons, but it's against the federal law to be a drug user and have a gun. Now, if somebody out there, whether they use it for medical reasons, which I truly believe in, by the way, totally support, I do think there's probably awesome things to use medical marijuana for. But you're going to see the fight coming that people are. I've always said when there's enough time and the government's bored enough, and I don't mean that in a bad way, they're just going to say, hey, where's the documented, do you think the government knows when you swipe your credit card somewhere?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because there's a lot of people that say I'm weird because I think that, right?
No, that's true. I mean,
so do you think the government knows?
Convenience is convenience, but I will absolutely tell you that credit cards and debit cards are a way for the government to track you.
Sure. So, and do you have to prove how old you are to buy weed in Colorado legally?
I'm going to say yes, even though I don't know.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
So it's kind of like telling people, it's like you got to prove how old you are, and you're going to buy some marijuana, and maybe you do or don't use your debit card. And by the way, you have a carry permit, you got issues coming. And, there are going to be people out there up in arms, no pun intended, saying, oh, my God, we can't have a bunch of druggies carrying guns, whatever. I'm not going to sit there and pick a side on either of that. I really don't.
But it's okay for people that drink alcohol to carry guns?
Yeah. Legally in Iowa it is.
As long as they're not intoxicated?
As long as they're not over 0.08 in Iowa.
Right.
I understand.
Yeah.
So here's the deal.
See where I'm going with that?
Oh, no.
It's a little hypocritical, isn't it?
Well, it's hypocritical. But do I believe you should smoke a joint and carry a gun? Hell no.
No.
Do I believe you should drink and carry a gun? Hell no.
No.
But the point being is, like you said, is where are we going to go and say, oh, it's illegal or is it not illegal? I mean, because I'm confused. The state says I can do it, but the federal government says I can't. If this wasn't, how do I want to say it? this will come to a head, and it'll come to a head because it involves firearms. If it was about other things, and I won't even mention those things to stir things up, but I'm telling you, since it involves firearms, the government's going to come thundering down on this sooner or later.
Yeah, they'll have a say in what happens.
And they're gonna say, hey, you know, everybody that smokes weed that has a gun is gonna go crazy and shoot people. Even though, as a police officer and your previous lifetime, have you ever been around people under the influence of marijuana?
I have.
They're usually pretty chilled.
Yeah, they can be.
Some of them don't make the best decisions, but they make them really slowly.
You know what this reminds me of? Just total tangent, but
Don't tell me the time you killed the goat with a hammer.
no.
Okay.
I love that story.
I know. Misha.
So Rob
We're gonna
Pincus
find him, right?
he kept saying, "Hey man, tell me a story," and I'd be like, "You ever heard my goat story?" He never wanted to hear the goat story, so I never told it. But anyway,
That's one of the best stories ever.
it is. It's my go-to.
Misha. Mika? Misha.
Misha, right?
Misha. Why don't we find Misha? Someone help us find
That
Misha.
dude is probably dead.
No. That's the power of the internet. The funny thing is we could find him. Was he your age at all?
I'm gonna say he was in his 20s at the time.
He was in his 20s back when?
So that would have been
In the
2000. No,
Oh.
2002.
2002.
Yeah.
He was probably in his 20s.
Yeah,
And he kills goats.
Yeah.
Poorly.
poorly,
He
very,
tried.
very poorly.
And he was with what branch?
He was with the Uzbek Spetsnaz.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't remember the
dedicated
unit.
dude, aren't
they had. I got their patch somewhere. It's a little tiger something like claws.
Not a bunch of wussies, are they?
No, they're not as kick ass as people think. We could have took the Russians. We can still take them.
Yeah.
We can take them.
Let me put it this way.
Bunch of commies.
Was he dedicated to his job?
Yeah,
Did he like you?
yeah,
So, yeah, we got to save Misha.
yeah.
If the whole rest of the country, like, lights on fire or something, we got to save Misha.
But what I was going to say is what this reminds me of.
Some of the Russian male brides I've heard about. I don't know.
Just heard. Rumors. There's rumors.
Somebody.
No judging.
No, not at all.
No. But what I was going to say, I'm trying to be serious. And we're
Okay.
talking about mail order brides.
Did we ever start this show to be serious? We said
No,
we were
absolutely not.
We said we weren't
No.
going to be Willy Wonka. Which, hey,
This is a
lessons
very serious subject,
Lesson
though.
learned since last time we lost Willy Wonka.
I
Unfortunately.
know.
Gene
Wilder.
Good guy.
He was.
Hey, pause with your serious.
Frankenstein.
Pause with your serious story. Whenever I see a story on Facebook like, oh, you know, look at all the things this guy did. You know, Captain Green Jeans was a badass in Vietnam. You hear all these stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, I did not know, and I'm pretty up like on, you know, actors whether they're 30 years old or especially if they're older. I had no idea of his history in the military.
Yeah, he had,
Cool.
well, 2 years he was, or was it longer? I can't remember.
Yeah, and when I say you know, it's like, oh,
He was
they're not
he was a
kidding.
paramedic.
Yeah, and he was actually. This was one of the actual. What do you want to say? It's one of the Army Facebook pages, like the legit.
Sure, yeah.
And it was like that's cool, and never knew that about him.
Yeah, it was on the VA page, which brings me to my point.
Okay, tell me your important
Did you
story.
know that I'm bringing out knife hand here? You see this? See this, folks? This
Hold
is
on.
knife hand.
Let me open my next one.
All right. So I got knife hand out.
Look.
Because this is some serious business.
I got a microphone.
They are asking vets when they go to the examinations at VA hospital that may or may not have PTSD symptoms, whether they own firearms or not. How is that relevant? That is the government trying to restrict the rights of veterans based on a mental illness that they may or may not have. I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Do you mean the fact that they're looking at if you are incompetent, you can't have a firearm?
Well, I think that's where they're trying to say they're going, but it's none of their damn business.
I'm not a veteran.
It applies to anybody. Just because you're a veteran doesn't mean you're not American.
Yeah, when you start
right?
looking at the facts,
you don't
saying-
give up your rights.
when you know, we're looking at the saying, oh, if you're on Social Security and you're having people, you know, run your finances because you can't do it anymore, we're going to take your guns away. It's like,
Right.
you know, if my grandma decides somebody else can manage her checkbook for her, help her pay her bills and all that,
It doesn't
mean she
doesn't
can't
take
have
away
a
her right
model-
to self-defense.
She can't have a model. What model? 70A, you called it? 20 gauge shotgun at home? She should be able to have that. At home. I love you, man.
I'm going to bring that gun in and I'm going to show it to you.
We should have it on the next show. We should.
And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize.
Simon.
But if you're wrong,
I'll buy you a steak dinner.
all right.
A Cedrel.
You're saying I like Cedro. They got that little horse sauce, horsey
Yeah.
sauce,
And a bunch of pedophiles next door.
Yeah, I know that. Ain't that a shame?
Yeah. I wonder how many people don't know that.
Well, they should know.
They should know.
They should know.
Yes. No lemonade stands allowed over there.
Nope. 70A.
Yeah. I like it.
I'm going to take a picture of it when I get home and I'm sending it to you.
That's cool because I'll get it like 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah.
Because it's not 2 a.m. right now.
Oh.
We might be here that long, but.
All right. Any more questions?
I'm
Got
looking.
anything on the agenda?
No.
All right.
I'm looking. There was a couple other people that text me questions, but no.
It's 10:01.
10:01.
Yep.
Can we be here that late?
We are.
10:01 p.m. We actually are. This is the latest we've officially ever been here. Can we do a later one once to say we did it? Sometime? Sure. If I bring you extra money? People just heard that little voice in the background. They're like, Simon's like a real dude. Simon helps. He puts up with a lot of crap, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Like between your rock star schedule and my
You can go ahead and say, screwed up schedule.
No, my ADD squirrel brain that I have, it's like the poor dude's got to like try to.
Very accommodating. Thank you.
Yeah, he is very accommodating. It was funny because when I thought ADD squirrel brain, I thought Ken Crawford. It's like my brother from another mother, Ken Crawford.
He is.
Yeah, we are. We're like the two of us together probably couldn't make.
You guys should not be party planners for anything.
No, we're the excitement at the party.
Yeah,
We're not the
you should
planners.
not be planning it.
Because we'd be standing around going, you brought the beer. You brought the beer?
Who's supposed to bring the chips?
Yeah. We need to get him and Ollie out here and do that knife class again.
Yes.
Do that this winter.
Yes.
When we do more stuff. When we have more classes. Anything else we have coming up that we don't have on the schedule? Hey, I'm just going to throw a little teaser out there.
Sure.
Ready?
Yep.
I have a cool idea. It's already, I think we already have our first client.
What's your idea?
Is we built a permit party package. It's going to be cool.
Permit party package.
Permit party
Like we go to somebody's house and do a permit class and they have a party?
You ready for this? Obviously, they don't have like a party involving alcohol, but here's the deal. So people pay $1,500. Bear with me. $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
They can have 20 people there. That's actually cheaper than
It is.
what we get every week.
It is.
So in that, they get 5 free fundamentals of concealed carry shooting portion.
That's a great deal.
And you ready? The person that comes in signs up and says, yes, I'm going to organize this. And here's the deal. They can have it at their house if they have accommodations, and we'll talk to them about that. They can have it at my store any night that I'm not open, any night after 6 o'clock.
Right.
So 6 to 11. And we can probably do it on most any Sunday. But so $1,500, you get to have 20 of your friends there. So if you want to take in $2,000 and charge them normal price, they'd have to anyway. Good for you. You get 5 fundamentals of concealed carry shooting portions to give away to 5 people in that class. And when you come in and sign up and pay the $1,500, you get a Glock 43.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's $3,000 worth of stuff for $1,500.
Wow.
Sure. So it'll be neat to see, here's how I wrote this out. Here's how I was going to present this to the public is you pay $1,500. You can have 20 friends there. You can give away these 5 classes to the people that need the shooting the most or that have the availability to go to the class. And I'm going to give away, that's how I put it, I'm going to give away a Glock 43 to somebody there tonight.
Just tell me, because I know, but just so everybody, how much does a Glock 43 cost?
$500.
$500.
Sure.
And what do we normally charge for the shooting portion of fundamentals of concealed carry?
Well, if you went through our class, you're still paying $50. So,
So it's $5.
Yeah,
it's
$250.
$250. That's $750.
Yeah.
That you're basically getting back from the $1,500.
Sure.
So really, you're only paying $750.
You sound like my wife buying shoes.
Yeah.
I bought 6 pairs because I saved twice as much.
It's rationalization, but it's true.
Yeah. So the thing is I was like, when I wrote this down, I kind of proposed it to a couple people and said, okay, now I show up and we do a class at your house or you do it at my store after hours, whatever. And, we hand out 20 tickets and 1 in 20 chance somebody's winning a Glock 43. And then I'm like, and several people probably would do that. They're going to be like, this is how they lure their friends. And when I say lure, say, you're coming to my class. We're going to do it at my house.
Yeah.
And then I had other guys that said, hey, I'm organizing this. I'm having it at my house. I'm paying the $1,500 up front. I get the Glock 43. And I'm like, you're right. Either way, I'm giving it away. So the person that signs up.
Your house, your rules.
Your house, your rules. Win in Rome. That's all I'll say.
That's all you said.
So, just to recap, we're never going to get sponsored by Peach Monster, but wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah.
We definitely keep them in business.
They're probably
This
like...
stuff is like
they
crack,
let those
dude. I've said this
people-
before. It's like nectar of the gods.
It is nectar of the gods. It actually says that.
It is.
And I don't care what people think this means in Hebrew or anything else. It's Peach Monster, dude.
It's an M
Yeah.
or a
Oh,
3.
you haven't read about it? You haven't seen the whole
I
story?
don't believe that conspiracy
care.
theory crap.
No, I don't either.
People aren't organized enough to really do all that stuff they say they can do.
I agree. So,
It's only in the movies.
anything else you want to sign off with?
It's
like 10:06. So I got to remind you, it's rainy out. It's dark.
Yep.
What should you worry about? Red Chevy truck.
Red Chevy truck.
Just blame the red Chevy truck.
All right.
Till next time when we're organized.
All right. Peace out.
Thanks for joining us.